Have you ever wondered why some people seem to effortlessly attract success, wealth, and happiness, while others struggle endlessly despite working just as hard? The answer isn't luck, privilege, or circumstance. It's something far more powerful, something that exists within every single one of us, waiting to be awakened. Bruce MacLelland's transformative work, Prosperity Through Thought Force, reveals the profound secret that has created millionaires, transformed paupers into princes, and turned dreamers into achievers. This isn't just another self-help philosophy. This is the blueprint for reconstructing your entire reality through the sheer power of your thoughts. And here's the truth that will shake you to your core. You've been using this power your entire life, but you've been using it backwards, attracting the very things you fear instead of the prosperity you deserve. Are you ready to reverse the tide and finally claim the abundant life that's been waiting for you? Then settle in, because what you're about to discover will fundamentally change everything you thought you knew about success, money, and the invisible forces that shape your destiny. Bruce MacLelland understood something that most people spend their entire lives never grasping. That thought is not merely a passive activity happening inside your skull, but rather an actual force, a tangible energy that radiates outward from you and shapes the physical world around you. This isn't mysticism or wishful thinking. This is a practical, demonstrable principle that operates with the same consistency as gravity or electricity. When you think a thought, you set into motion vibrations that ripple through the universe, attracting circumstances, people, and opportunities that match the frequency of that thought. The wealthy understand this instinctively, which is why they think constantly about abundance, expansion, and possibility, while those trapped in poverty cycle endlessly through thoughts of lack, limitation, and fear. Your current financial situation, your relationships, your health, everything you see in your life right now is nothing more than a physical manifestation of your dominant thought patterns over the past months and years. The most revolutionary aspect of MacLelland's teaching is the recognition that thought force isn't something you need to acquire or develop. You already possess it in infinite measure. Every human being, regardless of their current circumstances, has access to the exact same mental power that built empires, created fortunes, and changed the course of history. The only difference between someone living in abundance and someone trapped in scarcity is how they direct this force. Think of your mind as a powerful magnet, constantly pulling toward you whatever you focus upon. When you obsess over your debts, you magnetize more debt. When you worry about failure, you draw failure into your experience. But when you consistently hold thoughts of prosperity, success, and achievement, you become an irresistible magnet for those very things. This is not philosophy, this is physics. And once you understand how to harness this law, your transformation becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Now, here's where most people stumble right out of the gate. they confuse wishful thinking with actual thought force. Saying, "I want to be rich," while feeling poor is not using thought force. It's actually reinforcing poverty. True thought force requires that you think from the place of already having what you desire, not from the place of lacking it. When MacLelland talks about prosperity consciousness, he's describing a mental state where you feel wealthy, successful, and abundant right now, in this very moment, regardless of what your bank account says. This is the secret that separates those who merely dream from those who actually manifest their desires into physical reality. You must cultivate the feeling, the emotional vibration of prosperity, until it becomes your natural state of being. Let me be crystal clear about something, because this is where the rubber meets the road. Your thoughts are creating your reality every single second of every single day, whether you believe it or not, whether you're aware of it or not. This process doesn't take a vacation. It doesn't pause while you sleep, and it certainly doesn't care whether you understand it. You are right now, in this very moment, broadcasting a specific frequency of thought energy, and the universe is responding by delivering matching experiences. If you're not happy with what you're receiving, the only solution is to change the signal you're transmitting. And this is the beautiful, empowering truth that MacLelland wants you to grasp. You have complete control over your thoughts, which means you have complete control over your destiny. The foundation of prosperity consciousness begins with understanding the mental law of attraction. Like attracts like, this is not a metaphor. This is a description of how mental energy actually works. Your mind is constantly sending out vibrations, and these vibrations attract circumstances, opportunities, and people who vibrate at the same frequency. When you're vibrating at the frequency of prosperity, you naturally attract prosperous conditions. When you're vibrating at the frequency of lack, you attract more lack. The challenge is that most people have spent years, even decades, training themselves to vibrate at frequencies that repel the very things they claim to want. They say they want wealth, while thinking constantly about bills. They say they want success while dwelling on past failures. They say they want happiness while rehearsing every grievance and disappointment. MacLelland emphasizes that changing your thought patterns isn't about positive thinking in the superficial sense. It's about fundamentally rewiring your subconscious mind so that prosperity becomes your default setting. Your subconscious is like a garden, and for years you've been planting seeds of lack, limitation, and fear. Those seeds have grown into the circumstances you're experiencing right now. To change your outer world, you must first change your inner garden. You must pull out the weeds of negative thinking and plant new seeds of abundance, confidence, and expectation. This requires vigilance, discipline, and an unwavering commitment to guarding your mental space against the invasion of poverty consciousness. Here's a transformative exercise that MacLelland prescribes, And this is where the practical application begins. Every morning, before you do anything else, before you check your phone, before you worry about your problems, before you engage with the world, spend at least 15 minutes dwelling on the mental image of yourself as already prosperous. See yourself living in the home you desire, wearing the clothes you want, engaging in the activities that wealthy people enjoy. But don't just visualize it. Feel it. Breathe it. Inhabit it completely. Make this mental image so vivid, so real, so emotionally charged that your subconscious mind cannot distinguish it from actual physical reality. When you do this consistently, day after day, your subconscious begins to accept this new self-image as truth. And once your subconscious accepts something as true, it mobilizes all of your mental and physical resources to make it manifest in the physical world. The power of concentrated thought cannot be overstated. Most people scatter their mental energy in 1,000 different directions, worrying about this, fearing that, hoping for something else, and wondering about yet another thing. This diffusion of thought force renders it impotent. But when you learn to concentrate your thought energy on a single definite objective, you become unstoppable. Think of the difference between sunlight and a laser beam. Sunlight is diffused and can barely warm your skin, but that same light, when concentrated into a laser, can cut through steel. Your thoughts work exactly the same way. Scattered thoughts create scattered results. But concentrated thought force, focused persistently on a definite goal, creates miracles. MacLelland teaches that prosperity is not something you chase or pursue. It's something you attract by becoming the kind of person who naturally operates at the frequency of abundance. This is a crucial distinction. Most people think they need to work harder, hustle more, sacrifice more to achieve prosperity. But the truth is, prosperity flows effortlessly to those who have cultivated prosperity consciousness. Yes, action is required, but it's inspired action that flows naturally from your mental state. Not desperate, fear-based action that comes from a sense of lack. When you're operating from prosperity consciousness, opportunities appear seemingly out of nowhere. The right people show up at the right time. Doors open that you didn't even know existed. One of the most powerful concepts in MacLelland's teaching is the idea of mental ownership. Before you can own something in physical reality, you must first own it mentally. You must see it as already yours, feel the emotion of possession, and operate from the assumption that it's only a matter of time before the physical manifestation catches up with the mental reality. This is why visualization is so powerful, not because it magically creates things, but because it establishes mental ownership, which then directs all of your conscious and subconscious faculties toward making the physical possession a reality. The wealthy do this automatically. They see an opportunity and immediately assume ownership of it mentally, which then compels them to take the actions necessary to make it physically real. Let's talk about the mental barriers that keep most people trapped in poverty. because understanding these barriers is essential to dismantling them. The first and most destructive barrier is the belief in limitation. From childhood, most people are programmed to believe that resources are scarce, that you have to struggle and sacrifice to get ahead, that some people are just destined to be poor, while others are lucky enough to be rich. These beliefs are not truths. They are simply thoughts that have been repeated so often they've become accepted as reality. But here's the liberating truth. There is no limitation except in your own mind. The universe is infinitely abundant. There is more than enough wealth, opportunity, and resources for everyone. The only thing standing between you and unlimited prosperity is your acceptance of limiting beliefs. The second barrier is the habit of negative expectation. Most people have trained themselves to expect the worst, to anticipate failure, to look for problems. This mental habit creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you expect failure, you unconsciously take actions that lead to failure. When you expect lack, you overlook opportunities for abundance. When you expect rejection, you communicate in ways that invite rejection. MacLelland insists that you must reverse this pattern completely. You must cultivate the habit of positive expectation, of assuming that things will work out in your favor, that opportunities will appear, that success is inevitable. This doesn't mean being naive or ignoring real challenges. It means approaching every situation with the expectation that you will find a way to turn it to your advantage. The third barrier is the addiction to negative emotion. Many people have become so accustomed to feeling worried, anxious, frustrated, and discouraged that these emotions have become comfortable, familiar. There's a perverse psychological comfort in victimhood, in being able to blame circumstances for your failures. But prosperity requires that you break this addiction completely. You must learn to feel good, to feel confident, to feel abundant, even when external circumstances don't yet reflect that reality. This is perhaps the most challenging aspect of the work, because it requires you to swim against the current of your habitual emotional patterns. But it's also the most rewarding, because once you break free from the addiction to negative emotion, prosperity flows to you with shocking ease. MacLelland emphasizes the absolute necessity of developing what he calls the prosperity habit. Just as you can develop a habit of worry or a habit of doubt, you can develop a habit of expecting prosperity, of seeing abundance everywhere, of assuming that money flows to you easily and naturally. This habit is cultivated through repetition. Every time you catch yourself thinking a thought of lack, you must immediately replace it with a thought of abundance. Every time you notice yourself feeling poor, you must deliberately shift into the feeling of wealth. At first, this feels artificial and forced, but with consistent practice, it becomes automatic. Eventually, prosperity consciousness becomes your default mental state, and when that happens, physical prosperity becomes inevitable. Let's address the elephant in the room, the question that everyone asks but few answer honestly. If thought force is so powerful, why isn't everyone wealthy? The answer is simple but uncomfortable, because most people are using their thought force to create poverty rather than prosperity. They think about what they don't want far more than what they do want. They replay their failures more often than they rehearse their successes. They give more mental energy to their problems than to their solutions. And most destructively, they allow their thoughts to be controlled by external circumstances rather than taking command of their mental space and directing their thoughts deliberately toward their desired outcomes. Here's a transformative truth that MacLelland wants seared into your consciousness. Your current circumstances are not the cause of your thoughts. Your thoughts are the cause of your circumstances. Most people have this backwards. They think, I'll feel abundant when I have money, but the actual law works in reverse. You must feel abundant first, and then money comes. This reversal of cause and effect is the key that unlocks everything. The moment you stop allowing circumstances to dictate your thoughts and emotions, and instead use your thoughts and emotions to dictate your circumstances, your entire life transforms. The practice of mental denial and affirmation is central to MacLelland's methodology. Mental denial means refusing to accept poverty, lack, or limitation as your reality, regardless of what your senses tell you. When you look at your bank account and see a low balance, mental denial says, "This is not my true reality. This is merely a temporary condition that I am in the process of changing." When you face a setback or obstacle, mental denial says, "This has no power over me. I am moving toward my goal regardless of this temporary appearance." This is not self-deception. This is a recognition that your current circumstances are simply the result of past thinking. And since you're changing your thinking right now, your circumstances must inevitably change to reflect your new mental patterns. Affirmation is the positive counterpart to denial. While denial removes the acceptance of poverty, affirmation establishes the acceptance of prosperity. An affirmation is not a desperate plea or a hopeful wish. It's a declaration of truth. When you affirm, "I am prosperous," you're not saying, "I hope to be prosperous someday." You're stating a present reality. The key to effective affirmation is feeling. You must feel the truth of your affirmation as you speak it. If you're affirming prosperity while feeling poor, you're wasting your time. But when you affirm prosperity and simultaneously generate the feeling of being prosperous, you activate the thought force that draws prosperity to you magnetically. MacLelland teaches that you must become a jealous guardian of your mental space. In the same way that you wouldn't allow a thief to enter your home and steal your possessions, you must not allow negative thoughts to enter your mind and steal your prosperity. This requires constant vigilance, especially in the beginning, when your old thought patterns are still strong. The moment a thought of lack, fear, or limitation appears, you must evict it immediately and replace it with a thought of abundance, confidence, and possibility. This is not easy. It requires effort and discipline, but it becomes easier with practice, and the rewards are infinite. One of the most practical applications of thought force is in the realm of business and career advancement. When you enter any business situation, whether it's a job interview, a sales presentation, or a negotiation, your thought force precedes you and creates the atmosphere in which the interaction takes place. If you enter with thoughts of doubt, fear of rejection, or worry about failure, you transmit these vibrations to everyone in the room, and they respond accordingly. But when you enter with absolute confidence, with the expectation of success, with the mental image of a favorable outcome already established in your mind, you create an entirely different energy field, and people respond to you in completely different ways. The most successful people in any field are those who have mastered this principle. They control the mental atmosphere of every situation they enter. Here's something crucial that MacLelland emphasizes. Prosperity is not just about money. True prosperity includes vibrant health, fulfilling relationships, creative expression, peace of mind, and a sense of purpose. When you develop prosperity consciousness, all of these areas of your life improve simultaneously because you're raising your overall vibration. You cannot be truly prosperous if you're sick, lonely, or miserable, even if you have money. MacLelland's vision of prosperity is holistic. It's about creating a life of abundance in every dimension, and this is accomplished by maintaining thoughts of abundance, well-being, and success across all areas of your life. The role of gratitude in creating prosperity cannot be overstated. Gratitude is perhaps the most powerful prosperity magnet that exists. When you're genuinely grateful for what you already have, you're acknowledging abundance, and this acknowledgement creates more abundance. Most people make the mistake of thinking, "I'll be grateful when I have more." But this is backwards. Gratitude must come first. You must find things to be grateful for right now, in your current circumstances, no matter how challenging they may be. This doesn't mean being complacent or settling for less than you desire. It means recognizing that abundance is always present, even if it's not in the form you ultimately want. When you cultivate an attitude of genuine gratitude, you shift your vibration to match the frequency of abundance, and more abundance flows to you naturally. MacLelland also addresses the importance of giving as a prosperity practice. This seems counterintuitive to many people. They think, "How can I give when I barely have enough for myself?" But this is poverty consciousness speaking. Prosperity consciousness understands that giving is actually an affirmation of abundance. When you give, you're declaring to the universe, "I have more than enough," and the universe responds by giving you more. This doesn't mean giving recklessly or beyond your means. It means giving something, whether it's money, time, knowledge, or service, from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. The wealthy understand this instinctively, which is why many of them are extraordinarily generous. They know that the act of giving opens the channels through which more can flow to them. Let's talk about the power of decision. Most people don't realize that a true decision, a committed decision, activates thought force in extraordinary ways. When you make a definite, unequivocal decision that you will achieve a specific goal, something shifts in your consciousness. You're no longer hoping, wishing, or wanting. You're committed. This commitment focuses your thought force like nothing else can. Every cell in your body, every faculty of your mind, every aspect of your being aligns behind that decision and begins working to make it reality. This is why successful people are decisive. They understand that indecision is a prosperity killer, while clear, committed decision is a prosperity creator. The practice of mental rehearsal is another powerful tool in MacLelland's arsenal. Before any important event, whether it's a business meeting, a performance, or any situation where you want to succeed, you should mentally rehearse it with perfect success. See yourself handling every aspect brilliantly, speaking with confidence, making the right decisions, achieving the desired outcome. This mental rehearsal does two things. First, it programs your subconscious mind with a success pattern, making it more likely that you'll execute successfully in the actual situation. Second, it sends out vibrations in advance that help create favorable conditions. Many successful athletes use this technique, visualizing their perfect performance before competition. And you can use it in any area of your life. MacLelland warns against the danger of comparing yourself to others. When you look at someone who has more than you and feel envious or inadequate, you're actually pushing prosperity away from yourself. Envy is a vibration of lack. It says, "They have what I don't have," which reinforces the consciousness of not having. Instead, when you see someone prosperous, you should feel genuine happiness for them and use their success as evidence that prosperity is possible and available. Their wealth doesn't diminish your potential wealth. In fact, it's proof that the abundance you seek exists and can be yours. When you can genuinely celebrate others' success, you align yourself with the frequency of success, and it begins flowing to you. The concept of mental equivalence is central to understanding how thought force works. MacLelland teaches that you can only attract and keep that for which you have a mental equivalent. A mental equivalent means that you can conceive of yourself possessing it. You can feel comfortable with it. You can imagine yourself using it naturally. This is why lottery winners often lose all their money. They never developed the mental equivalent of being wealthy, so they unconsciously sabotage themselves until they return to the level of wealth that matches their self-concept. If you want to attract lasting prosperity, you must first build the mental equivalent of being prosperous. You must be able to see yourself as a wealthy person, feel comfortable with that identity, and imagine yourself living that life naturally. Persistence is absolutely essential in applying these principles. The biggest reason people fail is not that the principles don't work, but that they give up too soon. They practice prosperity consciousness for a few days or weeks, don't see immediate results, and return to their old thought patterns. But thought force works like compound interest. The effects accumulate over time. The thoughts you think today may not manifest tomorrow, but they are setting forces in motion that will eventually produce results. MacLelland emphasizes that you must persist in maintaining prosperity consciousness regardless of appearances, regardless of how long it takes, regardless of setbacks or obstacles. Those who persist inevitably succeed, while those who quit guarantee their failure. Let's address the practical question of how to maintain prosperity consciousness when facing real financial challenges. This is where the rubber really meets the road. MacLelland doesn't suggest ignoring reality or being irresponsible about your obligations. What he teaches is that you must handle your practical affairs with wisdom and responsibility, while simultaneously maintaining the mental state of prosperity. This means you pay your bills, you meet your obligations, you take appropriate action. But you do all of this from a consciousness of abundance rather than panic. When you pay a bill, instead of feeling depleted, you feel grateful that you have the money to pay it, and affirm that more is flowing to you. When you face a challenge, instead of succumbing to fear, you affirm your ability to find a solution and maintain confidence that all is working out for your highest good. The power of the spoken word is another crucial element in MacLelland's teaching. Words are crystallized thoughts, and they carry tremendous creative power. The words you speak about yourself, your circumstances, and your future are like seeds that you're planting in the garden of your life. If you constantly speak words of lack, difficulty, and struggle, you're planting those seeds and will harvest those results. But when you discipline yourself to speak only words of abundance, success, and prosperity, you're planting seeds that will produce a harvest of good things. This requires breaking the habit of complaining, criticizing, and speaking negatively about your circumstances. It means choosing your words carefully and deliberately, making sure that every word you speak supports the reality you're trying to create rather than the reality you're trying to leave behind. MacLelland also emphasizes the importance of surrounding yourself with prosperity consciousness. The people you associate with, the books you read, the content you consume, all of these things influence your mental state. If you spend time with people who constantly complain about money, who believe that prosperity is only for the lucky few, who criticize the wealthy, you will absorb their consciousness of poverty. But when you associate with people who think and speak prosperously, who are building successful lives, who believe in abundance and possibility, their consciousness lifts your own. This doesn't mean abandoning your current relationships, but it does mean being selective about whose opinions and beliefs you allow to influence your thinking. The principle of mental equivalence extends to your relationship with money itself. Many people have deeply conflicted feelings about money. They want it, but also judge it. They desire wealth, but believe that wealthy people are somehow immoral or greedy. This internal conflict creates a mental block that repels prosperity. MacLelland teaches that you must develop a healthy, positive relationship with money. Money is simply a tool, a form of energy, a medium of exchange. It's not good or evil in itself. It simply amplifies whatever qualities the person who possesses it already has. When you view money as a positive force that enables you to create good in your life and in the world, you remove the unconscious resistance that may be blocking its flow to you. Now, here's a subtle but powerful truth that MacLelland reveals. Your outer actions are important, but they are secondary to your inner state. This doesn't mean you can sit on your couch visualizing wealth and expect money to materialize out of thin air. It means that the right actions will naturally suggest themselves when you're operating from prosperity consciousness. When you're vibrating at the frequency of abundance, you'll be inspired to take actions that create abundance. The actions won't feel difficult or forced. They'll feel natural and exciting. This is the difference between inspired action and desperate action. Desperate action comes from fear and rarely produces good results. Inspired action comes from alignment with your prosperity consciousness and almost always leads to success. The concept of consciousness of supply is vital to understand. MacLelland teaches that the universe is a source of infinite supply. There is no shortage of anything. There is only a shortage of consciousness. When you develop a consciousness of limitless supply, you tap into that infinite source. This means shifting from believing that your supply comes from your job, your business, or any specific channel, to understanding that your supply comes from the universal source, and it can flow to you through countless channels. This liberates you from fear and limitation. If one channel closes, you know with absolute certainty that another will open, because your supply doesn't depend on any particular channel. It depends on your consciousness. MacLelland also addresses the fear of loss, which is one of the most destructive emotions when it comes to prosperity. Many people who have achieved some level of success live in constant fear of losing it. This fear of loss is actually a consciousness of poverty disguised as concern for preservation. True prosperity consciousness includes complete confidence that abundance is always available. That if you lost everything tomorrow, you could recreate it. Because the real source of your prosperity is your consciousness, not your external possessions. When you reach this level of understanding, you're free from the fear that binds so many people in anxiety. The practice of living from the end is one of the most powerful techniques MacLelland teaches. This means thinking, feeling, and acting as if you have already achieved your desired outcome. Not as if you will achieve it someday, but as if it's already done. This is not pretending or being delusional. This is a deliberate practice of occupying the consciousness of your desired end state. When you do this consistently, your subconscious mind accepts this new state as reality and begins to reorganize your entire life to match it. Your words change, your actions change, your decisions change, opportunities appear, and before you know it, the outer reality catches up with the inner reality you've been occupying. Let's talk about handling setbacks and apparent failures, because these are inevitable on any journey to success. MacLelland teaches that setbacks are simply feedback. They're information about what's not working, so you can adjust your approach. But here's the key. You must never allow a setback to shake your fundamental prosperity consciousness. You can acknowledge that a particular strategy didn't work without accepting that you are a failure, or that prosperity is not for you. The most successful people have experienced far more failures than average people, but they never allowed those failures to define their identity or diminish their expectation of ultimate success. Every setback is temporary. Every failure contains the seed of equivalent or greater benefit, and every obstacle is an opportunity to demonstrate your commitment to your vision. The role of faith cannot be ignored in MacLelland's teaching, but this is not blind faith or religious faith in the traditional sense. This is a practical faith based on understanding how thought force works. It's the confident expectation that the principles you're applying will produce results, even when you can't yet see evidence of those results in your physical reality. This kind of faith is cultivated through experience. As you apply these principles and see them work in small ways, your faith grows, and as your faith grows, you can apply them to larger and larger goals. Faith is the bridge between the invisible world of thought and the visible world of manifestation. MacLelland emphasizes that you must learn to think from the universal perspective rather than the limited personal perspective. From the personal perspective, everything seems limited. Resources appear scarce. Competition seems fierce, and success seems difficult. But from the universal perspective, there is infinite abundance, infinite intelligence, and infinite power available to everyone. When you align yourself with this universal perspective, you stop competing with others and start creating your own unique path to prosperity. You understand that there is no shortage of anything, that the success of others doesn't diminish your opportunities, and that the universe is conspiring to bring you everything you desire. The practice of mental fasting is another powerful tool that MacLelland recommends. Just as physical fasting cleanses the body, mental fasting cleanses the mind. This means taking deliberate periods where you refuse to think about your problems, your bills, your worries, or anything negative. During these periods, you focus exclusively on positive, uplifting, prosperous thoughts. You might spend an hour or a day or even a week where you absolutely refuse to entertain any thought that doesn't support your vision of prosperity. This practice starves your negative thought patterns of the attention they need to survive and strengthens your prosperity consciousness enormously. Success consciousness is something you must cultivate intentionally and protect vigilantly. Most people stumble through life allowing random thoughts to drift through their minds, accepting whatever thoughts happen to appear, whether those thoughts serve them or sabotage them. But MacLelland teaches that you must take conscious control of your mental space. You must become the master of your mind rather than its servant. This means choosing deliberately what you will think about, what you will dwell upon, what you will give your attention and emotional energy to. It means developing the ability to redirect your thoughts instantly when they drift toward negativity or lack. Here is where we arrive at perhaps the most important principle in MacLelland's entire teaching: the principle of assumption. You must assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, not hope for it, not work toward it while feeling that you don't have it, but actually assume it as already true and live from that assumption. This is the master key that unlocks everything. When you assume something is true, you automatically think, feel, and act in ways that are consistent with that truth. And these thoughts, feelings, and actions create the reality you've assumed. This is how all manifestation works. Assumption is the beginning of creation. The practical application of these principles in your daily life requires a systematic approach. MacLelland recommends creating specific times each day for mental work, for visualization, for affirmation, for dwelling in the consciousness of prosperity. This isn't something you do randomly when you remember it. This is a disciplined practice that you commit to with the same dedication an athlete brings to their training. The results you achieve will be directly proportional to the consistency and intensity of your practice. You cannot practice these principles casually and expect extraordinary results. You must commit fully and practice faithfully. Understanding the nature of desire itself is crucial to MacLelland's philosophy. Desire is not something to be ashamed of or suppressed. It's actually the first step in the creative process. Your desire for prosperity, for success, for a better life, these are not random wants. They are signals from your higher self indicating what you are capable of achieving. The very fact that you can desire something means you have the capacity to achieve it. The universe would not plant a desire in your heart without also providing the means to fulfill it. Your job is not to question your desires or feel guilty about them, but to accept them as valid and then apply the principles of thought force to manifest them. The relationship between thought and emotion is something MacLelland explores in depth. Thought without emotion is relatively weak. It's like a seed without water. But thought combined with intense emotion becomes incredibly powerful. This is why simply repeating affirmations mechanically produces little result. But affirmations spoken with deep feeling and conviction can transform your life. The emotion is the fuel that propels the thought into manifestation. When you visualize your desired outcome and simultaneously feel the joy, the excitement, the satisfaction of having achieved it, you create an irresistible magnetic force that draws that outcome to you. MacLelland also discusses the importance of specificity in your mental work. Vague general desires produce vague general results. If you simply want more money, the universe might give you a penny, and technically you've received more money. But if you have a specific definite goal, I earn $100,000 per year doing work I love, your subconscious mind has something concrete to work with. It can begin to identify opportunities, arrange circumstances, and guide your actions toward that specific outcome. The more detailed and specific your mental image, the more powerfully your thought force can operate. One of the subtle but important points MacLelland makes is about the difference between concentration and strain. When applying thought force, you want to maintain a state of relaxed concentration, not tense striving. Strain actually interferes with the flow of creative energy. Think of it like trying to remember someone's name. The harder you strain to remember, the more elusive it becomes. But when you relax and allow it to come to you, it often appears effortlessly. The same principle applies to manifestation. Hold your vision clearly and confidently, but don't grip it with desperate tension. Trust that the forces you've set in motion will produce results, and allow the process to unfold naturally. MacLelland teaches that your environment reflects your consciousness, and you can use this principle both ways. Not only does your consciousness create your environment, but consciously changing your environment can help shift your consciousness. This means surrounding yourself with symbols of prosperity, images that represent your goals, objects that make you feel wealthy and successful. This doesn't mean pretending to be wealthy when you're not, or going into debt to buy expensive things to impress others. It means creating an environment that supports and reinforces the prosperity consciousness you're cultivating. Even small changes, like keeping your living space clean and organized, can have a significant impact on your mental state. The concept of mental atmosphere is something MacLelland returns to repeatedly. Every person carries around them a mental atmosphere, an invisible field of energy that others can sense and respond to. Have you ever met someone and immediately felt drawn to them, or conversely, felt uncomfortable around someone without knowing why? You were responding to their mental atmosphere. When you cultivate prosperity consciousness, you create a mental atmosphere of confidence, abundance, and success that attracts positive responses from others. People want to do business with you. Opportunities come to you. Doors open, not through manipulation or fakery, but through the genuine energy you're projecting. MacLelland is clear that this work requires honesty with yourself. You cannot lie to yourself about your true feelings and expect the principles to work. If you're affirming prosperity, while secretly believing you don't deserve it, or while harboring resentment toward wealthy people, these conflicting beliefs will cancel each other out. Part of the work is identifying and resolving these internal conflicts. You must examine your beliefs about money, success, and yourself, and be willing to release beliefs that don't serve you, even if you've held them your entire life, even if they came from people you love and respect. The principle of expectancy is one of the most powerful tools in your mental arsenal. Expectancy is not the same as hope. Hope says maybe it will happen. Expectancy says it's on its way. When you truly expect something, you prepare for it. You make space for it. You act as if its arrival is certain. This expectancy sends a powerful signal to your subconscious mind and to the universe. Think about how you behave when you're expecting an important package. You listen for the doorbell. You check the tracking information. You clear a space to put it when it arrives. Apply this same level of expectancy to your prosperity goals. MacLelland also addresses the question of timing. One of the challenges people face when working with these principles is not knowing when their desire will manifest. This uncertainty can breed doubt and cause them to give up just before they would have succeeded. MacLelland teaches that the timing is not something you need to control or even know. Your job is to maintain the consciousness, to hold the vision, to live from the assumption of your wish fulfilled, and to trust that it will manifest at exactly the right time. Sometimes things manifest quickly. Sometimes they take longer. But the delay is often necessary for circumstances to align in ways that create the best possible outcome. The role of imagination in prosperity consciousness cannot be overstated. Your imagination is the workshop where you build your future. Everything that exists in the physical world was first imagined by someone. The chair you're sitting on, the device you're using, the building you're in. All of these began as imagined possibilities in someone's mind, before they became physical realities. You have access to this same creative power through your imagination. When you imagine yourself living prosperously, you're not engaging in fantasy. You're engaging in creation. You're building the blueprint that your subconscious mind will follow to construct your prosperous reality. MacLelland emphasizes the importance of living in the present moment while simultaneously holding your vision of the future. This seems paradoxical, but it's actually essential. You don't want to constantly project your happiness into some future time when you'll have achieved your goals, because that keeps you in a perpetual state of not having. Instead, you must find ways to feel prosperous, successful, and abundant right now, in this present moment, while also maintaining a clear vision of the greater prosperity that's coming. This is the art of living from the end, experiencing the emotional reality of your desired outcome now, which then draws the physical reality to you. The concept of mental seeds is a metaphor MacLelland uses extensively. Every thought you think is like planting a seed in the garden of your subconscious mind. Some seeds grow quickly, others take longer, but all seeds eventually produce a harvest according to their kind. You cannot plant seeds of poverty and reap a harvest of prosperity. You cannot plant seeds of doubt and reap a harvest of confidence. This is why consistent, daily mental work is so important. You're not just thinking positive thoughts occasionally, you're systematically planting the right seeds day after day, watering them with emotion, protecting them from the weeds of negative thinking, and patiently waiting for the inevitable harvest. MacLelland teaches that resistance is actually a sign that you're making progress. When you begin to change your consciousness, your old patterns will resist. You'll experience doubt, fear, skepticism, and the temptation to return to familiar ways of thinking. This resistance is not a sign that the principles aren't working. It's a sign that they are working, and your old consciousness is fighting to maintain its dominance. Every time you persist through resistance, every time you choose the prosperous thought over the poverty thought, despite the resistance you feel, you strengthen your new consciousness and weaken the old. Eventually, the tipping point comes, and prosperity consciousness becomes your natural default state. The importance of consistency in your mental work cannot be emphasized enough. MacLelland compares it to physical fitness. You can't go to the gym once and expect to be fit for life. You must maintain a consistent practice. Similarly, you can't practice prosperity consciousness for a day or two and expect permanent transformation. You must make it a daily practice, ideally multiple times per day, until it becomes as natural and automatic as breathing. The 15 minutes of visualization and affirmation you do each morning should be just the beginning. Throughout the day, you should be catching negative thoughts and replacing them, affirming prosperity in various situations, maintaining the feeling of abundance regardless of circumstances. MacLelland also discusses the power of questions in shaping your consciousness. The questions you ask yourself determine the answers you receive and the directions your mind explores. If you constantly ask, "Why am I so poor? Why can't I get ahead? Why does nothing ever work out for me?" Your mind will dutifully provide answers that reinforce poverty consciousness. But if you ask, "How can I increase my income? What opportunities are available to me? How can I add more value and receive greater compensation?" your mind begins searching for solutions, opportunities, and possibilities. The quality of your questions determines the quality of your life. The relationship between prosperity consciousness and service is another crucial element in MacLelland's teaching. True prosperity is never selfish or self-centered. The wealthiest, most successful people are those who have found ways to serve large numbers of people or to serve in particularly valuable ways. When you approach prosperity from the perspective of how you can serve, how you can add value, how you can solve problems for others, you align yourself with the natural flow of abundance. The universe rewards those who give value. So as you're building your prosperity consciousness, you should also be asking yourself, how can I serve? What value can I provide? How can I make other people's lives better? This orientation toward service actually accelerates the flow of prosperity to you. MacLelland addresses a common mistake people make, which is trying to figure out how their desire will manifest. They think they need to know the exact steps, the precise method, the complete plan, before they can commit to their vision. But this is backwards. Your job is not to figure out the how. Your job is to maintain the what, the clear vision of what you desire, and the why, your compelling reasons for desiring it. The how will reveal itself as you maintain your prosperity consciousness. Opportunities you never imagined will appear. Coincidences will occur. People will show up with exactly what you need. But these things can only happen when you're not rigidly attached to a specific path. You must be clear about the destination, but flexible about the route. The practice of blessing others is a powerful prosperity technique that MacLelland recommends. When you see someone wealthy, driving an expensive car, living in a beautiful home, instead of feeling envious or resentful, mentally bless them. Send them thoughts of goodwill. Celebrate their success. This does several things. First, it breaks the habit of comparison and competition that keeps you trapped in poverty consciousness. Second, it aligns you with the frequency of abundance by focusing on prosperity rather than lack. Third, it creates positive energy that comes back to you. You literally cannot bless others without blessing yourself in the process. MacLelland also explores the relationship between prosperity and health. Your body responds to your consciousness just as surely as your circumstances do. When you're stressed, worried, and fearful about money, your body produces stress hormones that weaken your immune system, disrupt your sleep, and undermine your health. But when you maintain prosperity consciousness, you naturally feel more relaxed, confident, and peaceful, and this emotional state supports vibrant health. Furthermore, when you're healthy, you have more energy to pursue opportunities and take the actions that create prosperity. So prosperity consciousness and health consciousness are intimately connected and mutually reinforcing. One of the subtle but powerful practices MacLelland teaches is the art of selective perception. At any given moment, there are countless things you could pay attention to. You could focus on what's working or what's not working, on possibilities or problems, on abundance or lack. Selective perception means deliberately choosing to notice and focus on evidence of prosperity, success, and abundance. When you receive money, even a small amount, you celebrate it and acknowledge it as evidence that money flows to you. When an opportunity appears, you recognize it and feel grateful. When something works out well, you take note and use it to strengthen your faith in prosperity. Over time, this practice trains your mind to see opportunities and abundance everywhere. MacLelland teaches that your prosperity consciousness affects not just your own life, but also the lives of those around you. When you hold someone in your consciousness as capable, successful, and prosperous, you actually help them move toward that state. Conversely, when you doubt someone, pity them, or see them as limited, you can subtly hinder their progress. This is why it's so important to see yourself and everyone around you through the lens of prosperity consciousness. See your children as successful, your spouse as capable, your colleagues as talented. This mental practice creates an atmosphere that supports everyone's prosperity. The concept of the prosperity deadline is something MacLelland discusses. Some people think that setting a specific deadline for their goal to manifest demonstrates faith. But MacLelland cautions against this. Setting a deadline can actually create anxiety and doubt, especially if the deadline passes without the desired manifestation. Instead, he recommends maintaining your vision and consciousness consistently while trusting that the manifestation will occur at exactly the right time. This doesn't mean being passive or lacking urgency in your actions. It means being patient and persistent in your consciousness while being dynamic and responsive in your behavior. MacLelland emphasizes the importance of studying prosperity in all its forms. Read biographies of successful people, not to copy their exact methods, but to absorb their consciousness. Notice how they think, how they respond to challenges, how they view opportunities. Study businesses that are thriving and ask yourself what consciousness they embody. Observe nature and notice the incredible abundance everywhere. A single apple tree produces hundreds of apples, each containing seeds for dozens more trees. The universe operates on principles of abundance and multiplication, and the more you observe this, the more your own consciousness aligns with it. The practice of mental discipline is central to everything MacLelland teaches. Mental discipline means you don't just think whatever thoughts happen to drift through your mind. You consciously choose and direct your thoughts. This is challenging at first, because most people have spent their entire lives being passive recipients of whatever thoughts appear. But with practice, you can develop the ability to instantly recognize a thought that doesn't serve you and replace it with one that does. This mental discipline is the foundation of prosperity consciousness, and indeed, of all achievement. MacLelland also discusses the importance of celebrating small wins. Many people make the mistake of dismissing small improvements or minor successes because they're focused on the big goal. But this is a prosperity mistake. Every small win is evidence that your consciousness is shifting, that the principles are working, that you're moving in the right direction. When you celebrate these small wins, you reinforce the prosperity consciousness and create momentum. You tell your subconscious mind, "Yes, this is working, more of this, please." This positive reinforcement accelerates your progress far more than being critical or dismissive of partial progress. The relationship between prosperity consciousness and forgiveness is something MacLelland addresses. Resentment, bitterness, and the desire for revenge are all forms of poverty consciousness. They tie up your mental and emotional energy in the past, preventing you from fully engaging with the present and creating your future. Forgiveness isn't about condoning wrong behavior or becoming a doormat. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of negative emotion so that your energy can flow toward prosperity. When you forgive, you release yourself from prison. You free up the mental and emotional energy that was trapped in resentment and redirect it toward building the life you desire. MacLelland teaches that you must be willing to outgrow your current circumstances mentally before you can outgrow them physically. This means you must be willing to see yourself differently, to release your attachment to your current identity as someone who struggles or lacks. Many people cling to their story of hardship. They've told it so many times it's become part of their identity. But to create prosperity, you must be willing to release that story and create a new one. This doesn't mean denying your past experiences. It means refusing to let them define your future. The importance of maintaining prosperity consciousness during challenging times cannot be overstated. It's relatively easy to feel prosperous when things are going well, but the true test comes when you face obstacles, setbacks, or apparent failures. This is when most people abandon their prosperity consciousness and revert to old patterns of fear and limitation. But MacLelland teaches that these challenging times are actually opportunities to demonstrate and strengthen your faith in the principles. When you can maintain prosperity consciousness even when circumstances seem to contradict it, you prove to your subconscious mind that your commitment is real, and this creates a breakthrough in your consciousness that leads to even greater prosperity. MacLelland also explores the concept of prosperity consciousness in relationships. Your consciousness affects not only your financial situation, but also the quality of your relationships. When you operate from prosperity consciousness, you approach relationships from a place of abundance rather than neediness. You don't cling to relationships out of fear of being alone. You don't tolerate mistreatment because you believe you can't do better. You don't manipulate or control because you trust that the right people will be attracted to you naturally. This abundance mentality creates healthier, more fulfilling relationships in all areas of your life. The practice of mental house cleaning is something MacLelland recommends doing regularly. Just as your home accumulates clutter that needs to be cleared out periodically, your mind accumulates limiting beliefs, negative thought patterns, and emotional baggage that needs to be released. Take time regularly to examine your beliefs about money, success, yourself, and the world. Question beliefs that limit you. Ask yourself, is this belief serving me? Is it true? Am I willing to release it? This mental house cleaning creates space for new, more empowering beliefs to take root. MacLelland emphasizes that prosperity consciousness is not about being unrealistic or ignoring genuine problems. It's about approaching every situation from a position of mental strength rather than weakness. When you face a genuine challenge, prosperity consciousness doesn't pretend the challenge doesn't exist. It says, "This is a challenge, and I have the resources, creativity, and resilience to handle it." This position of strength allows you to think more clearly, access your full capabilities, and find solutions that you would miss if you approached the situation from a position of fear and limitation. The concept of vibrational alignment is crucial in MacLelland's teaching. Everything in the universe vibrates at a particular frequency, including your thoughts and emotions. Prosperity vibrates at a certain frequency, and poverty vibrates at a different frequency. When your thought patterns consistently vibrate at the frequency of prosperity, you naturally attract circumstances, opportunities, and people that match that frequency. This is not mysticism. This is the practical application of the law of attraction. You become a magnet for whatever you consistently vibrate in harmony with. MacLelland teaches that one of the most powerful prosperity practices is the habit of assuming the best. When you're waiting for an outcome, assume it will be favorable. When you meet someone new, assume they will like you and want to help you. When you pursue an opportunity, assume you will succeed. This doesn't mean being naive or failing to prepare for different possibilities. It means defaulting to positive expectation rather than negative expectation. This habit of assuming the best keeps you vibrating at the frequency of prosperity and success, which makes positive outcomes far more likely. The importance of physical action aligned with mental consciousness is something MacLelland addresses carefully. Some people misunderstand prosperity consciousness and think it means simply visualizing wealth while taking no action. This is a misunderstanding. Prosperity consciousness naturally inspires action, but it's inspired action rather than desperate action. When you maintain prosperity consciousness, you'll feel guided to take certain actions, pursue certain opportunities, make certain contacts. These intuitive nudges are your consciousness directing you toward manifestation. Your job is to maintain the consciousness and then act on the inspiration that comes from it. MacLelland also discusses the phenomenon of the consciousness plateau. Sometimes, after making initial progress, people hit a plateau where nothing seems to be changing. This can be discouraging, but MacLelland explains that plateaus are often periods of internal consolidation. Your consciousness is integrating the changes, preparing for the next level of expansion. During plateaus, the key is to persist with your practices without becoming frustrated or doubtful. Continue your visualization, your affirmations, your mental discipline. The plateau will eventually give way to another surge of growth, and often the growth that follows a plateau is even more dramatic than the initial progress. The role of inspired giving in prosperity consciousness is something MacLelland explores in depth. Giving should not be a mechanical obligation or a guilt-driven act. It should be inspired. When you feel genuinely moved to give, whether it's money, time, knowledge, or service, that inspiration is actually prosperity consciousness expressing itself. Following these inspired impulses keeps your energy flowing and opens channels for even greater prosperity to flow to you. However, giving from a sense of obligation, fear, or manipulation actually has the opposite effect. The key is to give when you feel inspired. Give generously, and give joyfully. MacLelland teaches that your prosperity consciousness is tested most severely at the moment just before breakthrough. Just when you're about to manifest your desire, circumstances often appear to deteriorate. This is actually a positive sign. It's the old energy pattern making one final attempt to maintain itself before giving way to the new pattern. Many people give up at precisely this point, mistaking the apparent setback for evidence that the principles aren't working, when in fact they're on the verge of success. This is why persistence is so crucial. You must maintain your prosperity consciousness most faithfully during these testing periods. The concept of the mental equivalent applies not just to material prosperity, but to every area of life. You can only experience in your outer life what you have a mental equivalent for in your consciousness. If you want better health, you must build the consciousness of perfect health. If you want fulfilling relationships, you must build the consciousness of being lovable and loving. If you want creative expression, you must build the consciousness of being creative and talented. The same principles that create financial prosperity create prosperity in every dimension of life. MacLelland also addresses the common fear that focusing on prosperity is selfish or materialistic. He explains that true prosperity consciousness is never selfish because it's rooted in an understanding of universal abundance. When you prosper, you don't take from anyone else. You create value that didn't exist before. Furthermore, when you're prosperous, you have far greater capacity to help others, to contribute to causes you believe in, to make a positive difference in the world. Poverty consciousness might seem humble, but it's actually self-centered because it's focused on limitation and lack. Prosperity consciousness is expansive and includes the prosperity of all. The practice of mental immunity is something MacLelland recommends developing. Just as your body can develop immunity to certain diseases, your mind can develop immunity to negative influences. This means that other people's doubts, criticisms, and negativity bounce off you rather than penetrating your consciousness. You develop this mental immunity through consistent practice of prosperity consciousness. Eventually, your prosperity consciousness becomes so strong, so stable, that external circumstances and other people's opinions have little power to shake it. MacLelland emphasizes the importance of being clear about what prosperity means to you personally. For some people, prosperity means having millions of dollars. For others, it means having enough to meet their needs comfortably with some extra for pleasures and giving. For still others, it means having the freedom to pursue creative work without financial stress. There's no single definition of prosperity that's right for everyone. What matters is that you're clear about what prosperity means to you, and that you build your consciousness around that personal definition rather than trying to achieve someone else's idea of success. The relationship between prosperity and purpose is another crucial element MacLelland explores. The most sustainable prosperity comes when you're doing work that aligns with your purpose, that uses your natural talents, that feels meaningful to you. When you're pursuing prosperity simply for the sake of having money, the motivation tends to be weak and the results disappointing. But when you're pursuing prosperity as a means to fulfill your purpose, to make your unique contribution, to express your gifts fully, the motivation is powerful and the results are often extraordinary. MacLelland teaches that every person is a unique expression of infinite intelligence, and therefore each person has unique gifts, talents, and a unique contribution to make. Part of developing prosperity consciousness is discovering and acknowledging your own unique value. You're not trying to be like someone else or to copy someone else's path. You're uncovering and expressing your own unique genius. When you do this, prosperity flows naturally because you're offering something that only you can offer in quite the way you offer it. The importance of mental flexibility alongside commitment to your vision is something MacLelland addresses. You want to be completely committed to your vision of prosperity while remaining flexible about how it manifests. This means you hold your vision firmly, but you don't dictate the exact form it must take or the exact path by which it must come. This flexibility allows the universe to bring you your desire in ways that may be even better than what you imagined. Many people miss great opportunities because they're rigidly attached to having their goal manifest in one specific way. MacLelland also discusses the power of deciding that prosperity is inevitable. This is different from hoping it will happen or believing it might happen. When you decide that your prosperity is inevitable, that it's not a question of if, but only when and how, something shifts fundamentally in your consciousness. You stop struggling and start flowing. You stop forcing and start allowing. You maintain your vision and practices while trusting completely in the outcome. This kind of certainty is magnetic. It draws circumstances, people, and opportunities to you in the most remarkable ways. The practice of prosperity conversations is something MacLelland recommends. This means being very intentional about how you speak about money, success, and your future. Stop participating in conversations that focus on how hard times are, how expensive everything is, how impossible it is to get ahead. These conversations reinforce poverty consciousness. Instead, speak about opportunities you see, successes you're experiencing, abundance you notice, dreams you're pursuing. This doesn't mean being unrealistic or bragging. It means directing conversations toward prosperity rather than lack. MacLelland emphasizes that prosperity consciousness is not a destination you reach, but a practice you maintain. You don't arrive at prosperity consciousness and then stop practicing. The wealthy and successful maintain their prosperity consciousness daily. This is how they stay wealthy and successful. It's like physical fitness. You don't get fit and then stop exercising. You maintain the practices that keep you fit. Similarly, you maintain the mental practices that keep you prosperous. This is actually good news because it means that prosperity is always accessible through your daily choices and practices. The concept of treating money as energy rather than as a scarce resource is central to MacLelland's teaching. Money is simply a form of energy. It flows in and it flows out. When you hold on to money tightly out of fear of not having enough, you actually restrict the flow. But when you allow money to flow freely, spending wisely but generously, giving joyfully, investing confidently, you keep the energy moving, and more flows to you. This doesn't mean being reckless with money. It means having a healthy relationship with money as energy that flows, rather than as a scarce resource that must be hoarded. MacLelland also addresses the importance of upgrading your beliefs about what's possible for you. Many people operate with beliefs about their capabilities and potential that were formed in childhood or during difficult periods of their life. These beliefs may have been accurate at the time, but they're no longer true. As you grow, evolve, and develop new skills and awareness, your potential expands. You must consciously update your beliefs about what's possible for you. What seemed impossible 5 years ago may be well within your reach today. Don't let outdated beliefs about yourself limit your current potential. The practice of mental preparation for prosperity is something MacLelland strongly recommends. Before prosperity arrives in physical form, prepare for it mentally. Imagine in detail how you will handle the money, what you will do with it, how you will manage it wisely. See yourself making good decisions, being generous, investing intelligently. This mental preparation does two things. It strengthens your belief that prosperity is coming, and it prepares your subconscious mind so that when prosperity does arrive, you're ready to handle it well. Many people receive prosperity and then lose it because they weren't mentally prepared to manage it. MacLelland teaches that your response to other people's success is a powerful indicator of your own prosperity consciousness. If you feel threatened, envious, or diminished when others succeed, this reveals poverty consciousness. But if you feel genuinely happy for others' success, if you can celebrate their wins without feeling that their prosperity diminishes your own possibilities, this reveals prosperity consciousness. The truth is that there is no competition for abundance because abundance is infinite. Someone else's success actually proves that success is possible and available. It should inspire you rather than discourage you. The importance of maintaining emotional balance while pursuing prosperity is something MacLelland emphasizes. Wild swings of emotion, from euphoria to despair, actually interfere with the steady manifestation of prosperity. You want to maintain a calm, confident, steady expectation of prosperity rather than emotional volatility. This doesn't mean being unemotional or robotic. It means having emotional stability rooted in faith in the principles you're applying. This emotional stability allows you to persist through challenges without being derailed by temporary setbacks or difficulties. MacLelland also explores the relationship between prosperity consciousness and identity. Who you believe yourself to be determines what you can create and receive. If you identify as someone who struggles, who's always broke, who can't catch a break, this identity will create circumstances that match it. But if you identify as someone who's resourceful, capable, and naturally prosperous, this identity creates very different circumstances. Changing your identity, your fundamental sense of who you are, is one of the most powerful things you can do to create lasting prosperity. The practice of future pacing is a powerful technique MacLelland teaches. This means mentally living in your desired future now. Throughout the day, as you make decisions, solve problems, interact with others, do so as the prosperous person you're becoming. Ask yourself, how would the prosperous version of me handle this situation? What decision would they make? How would they respond to this challenge? Then act accordingly. This practice reinforces your new identity and accelerates the manifestation of your desired reality. MacLelland emphasizes that prosperity consciousness is ultimately about freedom. The freedom to choose how you spend your time. The freedom to pursue what matters to you. The freedom to help others. The freedom to create and contribute. When prosperity is motivated by the desire for freedom and contribution, rather than by greed or the need to prove something, it flows more easily and feels more fulfilling when it arrives. So, as you build your prosperity consciousness, connect it to the freedom and contribution you desire. Let this be your deeper motivation. The concept of mental receptivity is crucial in MacLelland's teaching. You must not only broadcast prosperity consciousness outward, you must also be receptive to receiving prosperity. Many people sabotage their prosperity through an unconscious inability to receive. They're uncomfortable with compliments. They have trouble accepting help. They feel guilty receiving gifts. This inability to receive creates a block in the flow of prosperity. Practice receiving graciously. When someone offers you something, accept it with gratitude. When opportunities come, take them without second-guessing. When money arrives, welcome it joyfully. This receptivity completes the circuit and allows prosperity to flow. Now, as we approach the conclusion of this comprehensive exploration of Bruce MacLelland's prosperity principles, let me share with you the ultimate truth that ties everything together. Prosperity is not something outside of you that you must chase, pursue, or convince the universe to give you. Prosperity is your natural state, your birthright, your true nature. The only reason you don't experience unlimited prosperity is because you've accepted beliefs, adopted thought patterns, and developed habits that block its natural flow to you. Everything you've learned here is simply about removing those blocks, releasing those limiting patterns, and returning to your natural state of abundance. The transformation from poverty consciousness to prosperity consciousness is not about becoming someone different. It's about becoming who you truly are. It's about shedding the layers of conditioning, fear, and limitation that have covered your true nature. Underneath all of those layers is a being of unlimited potential, infinite creativity, and natural abundance. Your work is not to create this being, but to uncover it, to let it emerge, to allow it to express fully. And here's the beautiful truth that MacLelland wants you to understand. The moment you fully commit to this path, the moment you decide with absolute certainty that you will master your consciousness and create prosperity, the universe conspires to support you. Opportunities begin appearing. Obstacles dissolve. The right people show up. Circumstances arrange themselves in your favor. Not because the universe is rewarding you for making a decision, but because your decision changes your vibration, and as your vibration changes, you naturally attract different circumstances. This is not a quick fix or a magic formula. This is a fundamental restructuring of your relationship with reality. It requires commitment, persistence, and faith. There will be moments of doubt, days when it seems like nothing is working, times when you're tempted to give up and return to old patterns. In those moments, remember that every thought is either building prosperity consciousness or poverty consciousness. There is no neutral. Every moment is an opportunity to choose the thought that moves you toward prosperity rather than away from it. The practices you've learned here, the visualization, the affirmation, the mental discipline, the assumption of your wish fulfilled, all of these are not just techniques to get money. They are tools for transforming your consciousness, and as your consciousness transforms, everything in your life transforms. Your health improves, your relationships deepen, your creativity flows, your sense of purpose becomes clear. Prosperity touches every dimension of your existence. Remember that you are part of an infinite, abundant universe that wants to express itself through you. You are a channel through which prosperity, creativity, love, and all good things want to flow. When you keep that channel clear through prosperity consciousness, when you remove the blocks of fear, doubt, and limitation, the flow becomes a flood. More good flows through you and to you than you could have possibly imagined. Your past does not determine your future. It doesn't matter where you came from, what mistakes you've made, what failures you've experienced. This moment is a fresh start. Right now, with your very next thought, you can begin building prosperity consciousness. You can choose abundance over lack, confidence over fear, possibility over limitation. And as you make these choices consistently, moment by moment, day by day, your entire life restructures itself around your new consciousness. Before we part ways, I want to express my deep gratitude that you've spent this time exploring these life-changing principles with me. The fact that you've stayed engaged through this entire journey tells me something important about you. You're serious about transforming your life. You're willing to do the inner work required for real change, and you understand that prosperity begins in consciousness before it manifests in circumstances. If these principles have resonated with you, if you feel inspired and empowered by what you've learned, if you're committed to applying these teachings in your own life, I want to ask you to do something that will help us continue bringing powerful, transformational content to people who need it. Please take just a moment right now to hit that like button on this presentation. Your like tells us that this content is valuable and worth creating more of. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to Audiobook Library. When you subscribe, you become part of a growing community of conscious creators, people who understand that they have the power to shape their reality through the force of their thoughts. Your subscription helps this channel grow and reach more people who are searching for the keys to unlock their prosperity. Together, we're creating a movement of empowered individuals who refuse to be victims of circumstance and instead choose to be deliberate creators of abundant, fulfilling lives. So please, right now, like this presentation and subscribe to Audiobook Library. It takes just seconds, but it makes a tremendous difference in helping us reach more people with this life-changing message. And while you're at it, share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's struggling financially, someone who's lost hope, someone who's ready for transformation. Your share might be exactly what changes their life. The power to create prosperity is in your hands, or more accurately, it's in your mind. Every thought you think from this moment forward is either building the life of your dreams or reinforcing the life of your fears. Choose wisely. Choose consciously. Choose prosperity. Your abundant future is not a distant possibility. It's a present reality that's waiting for you to claim it through the power of your consciousness. Go forward with confidence, with faith, and with the absolute certainty that prosperity is your divine right and thought force is the master key that unlocks it. Practice these principles faithfully. Persist through challenges. Maintain your vision regardless of appearances. And watch as your life transforms in ways that will amaze you. The universe is abundant, infinitely generous, and constantly responsive to your consciousness. Align yourself with prosperity. Maintain that alignment daily, and prepare to receive abundance beyond your wildest dreams. Your journey to prosperity begins now, in this moment, with this thought. Make it a thought of abundance, success, and unlimited possibility, and then follow it with another and another, until prosperity consciousness becomes your natural way of being. The life you've always dreamed of is not only possible, it's inevitable when you apply these principles with faith and persistence. Welcome to your prosperous future. It's been waiting for you all along.